Joining us once again now from Rome, joining us live, Edward Pentin. He's our Newsmax correspondent and Vatican insider. Thanks so much for staying with us, Edward.
Thanks. Good to be back with you.
So, Ed, maybe we'd call this Catholicism 101. For people who may not be familiar with the Pope's prerogatives and the role of the College of Cardinals, how exactly does that august body work?
Right. Well, the College of Cardinals is essentially like the Pope's advisory body, if you like. They're the Pope's closest advisors, and they help him with a lot of the decision making. All the senior departments are headed by cardinals, and so he's essentially the sort of consultative body for him. Some people call it a sort of Senate. It's not quite like that because it's not elected, and of course it's not political. It's all to do with the divine nature of the church and the way the church is run as instituted by Christ. So it's different in that sense. But the cardinals are there really just to help him to govern the church.
We want to know, how are people responding to Pope Francis' decisions, Edward?
Well, in various ways. It depends who you ask, of course. A lot of people see him as a great breath of fresh air. These choice of cardinals, as I said earlier, are very much a reforming decision of him to sort of look outside the box, as it were, and choose cardinals, people who they'd never heard of before. Usually cardinals are chosen from dioceses that are always sort of headed by a cardinal. So you have places like Chicago, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. These are usually headed by a cardinal. And so when that doesn't happen, you can see that the Pope is going in a different direction. Although in the US, as I said earlier, there isn't a need for more cardinals there at the moment. But he's very much trying to broaden the vision of the church as he sees it. But then there are those on the other side who say, well, you know, he's not holding to tradition. He's sort of rather playing fast and loose with tradition, and this is upsetting a certain amount of people within the church who want him to reach out to them and say, look, there is tradition which has to be respected, and there has to be continuity with tradition and the modern church. And a lot of them don't see him doing that. And so there's a bit of tension there with Francis. And people would like him to return to them and say, look, I'm with you as well, but I also want to take the church forward in the way that I want.
Ed, about 1:30 remains, and we should note that the Pope strongly criticized the Curia in his Christmas address. Would you help us understand a little better the role of the Curia within the church?
Yes, I mean, the Curia are his closest advisors. So they're the ones who run the Vatican, all the different departments. They're the ones who run the Holy See, the diplomatic places around the world, the nunciatures. And so it's very much the sort of decision-making nerve center, if you like, of the church. But that's why it's very important, these cardinals that he chooses for the Curia. But he only chose one in this latest batch of cardinals. So again, he's looking beyond the sort of general power structures, and he's going out to the peripheries, to those countries that don't have cardinals, and just bringing in those on the peripheries into the decision-making areas of the church.
So mindful of that, and again, it's not my effort to profane any element of the church by comparing it or offering a political analogy. It sounds to a layman like the Curia is really the papal bureaucracy. Mindful
Yes.
of that, can we classify Francis as a populist pope? 30 seconds remain.
Yes, some people have said that he is a bit like that. But, you know, other people are saying, well, that's what's needed for the Catholic Church. There are a lot of people who feel alienated. A lot of Catholics in the world feel alienated. They say it doesn't speak to them. It doesn't know their problems. It can't relate to them. And so he's trying to sort of reach out to them. And as John Allen said earlier, trying to make the church a two-way street. But there are risks to that. And those aren't always properly exposed, I think.
And we will have to outline those risks in a future visit. Ed Pentin, we thank you for your time.